But one of the first things I wanted to talk about today is Chelsea and I were talking about contacts, and she said she's had 93 conversations, not all of them good. And I said, you're gonna have that. But you asked a question or two, Chelsea, right?
Yeah. I had just asked
Asked if anyone.
Okay.
I had just asked, and I don't know if maybe you guys have different ideas. I don't know. I'm not originally from here, and that's
That's
not
not useful.
know a ton of people. And the problem that I'm starting to come across is that I'm reaching out to the same people multiple times now, and I'm just like out of ideas and ways to make these contacts without just bugging people. Like I feel like I'm getting to a point where some people that are like repeat contacts that I'm bugging, and I don't want to be that person. So I didn't know if any of y'all had different ideas or ways that y'all are going about it.
Thanks for sharing that. And the quick answer to the first things you brought up, she said she had 93 contacts and not all of them were nice ones, meaning I'm going to assume maybe some hang-ups or some people that were a little pissy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Good for you. Goodbye.
Yeah. So please all understand this. It's not a game of nice. It is not always easy, and you're going to build up an immunity to the no. You'll never you'll never know if you don't ask. And if you never ask, then you're never going to get business. So it's one of those things that, cold calling or calling people that you don't actually know, like prospecting, it's kind of like building your muscles, kind of like working out. At the start, it's painful, and that no is painful, but just like working out, you'll be super sore after the first couple of lists, but then you'll start to get in a rhythm. And once you start to hit a routine, you're going to find that you're really building muscles in the right way. And the more no's you get, you're also going to get the more yeses as well, because you're going to be contacting more people. You're going to feel more fearless doing so. And therefore, the more contacts you have, the more opportunities you have to set appointments and get business. So I would just challenge us all to say that with every no, you're one step closer to a yes. Think about, who was it? Edison, who said he didn't fail 10,000 times inventing the light bulb. He found 9,999 ways of not doing it. So if we reframe our mindset there, the no's won't hurt so bad, and the negative conversations won't hurt so bad. It'll just be like, you're going to build a thicker skin, and you'll be fine at the end of the day. You're going to sleep fine knowing that you gave your all today. And let them deal with the consequences of being an a-hole or a jerk. So the conversation about annoying people. I think a lot of times we say no for people, meaning I don't want to bother them because I'm pretty sure that I'm bugging them and they don't want to hear from me again. When in fact, why are you saying no for them? Let them be the judge of that. I go through this as well. And the sad thing is it's a mental hurdle that I've created, that I've gotten over, but in talking with my closest friends, like about real estate, once I got over that fear and just started doing it, like I realized quickly that number one, I'm not bugging them because they like me. And that's everyone in our sphere. So they all like you already. So don't worry about that. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you don't have to make the whole conversation be about real estate. I'm finding different ways to talk about or to get to real estate through other things. So like the Bold 100 that I did a couple weeks ago, or upcoming, I've got fall photographs. Like call and provide these people with some value. Even if you don't have the money to put on these things, then no problem. What if you called and just said, hey, just want to let you know, I'm just calling to check around with people and make sure that I've got your address so I can set you up on a neighborhood snap, and you can have the latest information possible in regards to the values of your homes. providing value doesn't have to cost money. Additionally, have you guys heard of the Ford method of conversations? Ford, Ford. It's an acronym. So if ever you're having problems like with how to approach a conversation, F stands for family. So you just ask, hey, how's the family doing? Or, hey, I was stalking you on Facebook and saw that your kid just turned 5. Like, happy birthday, and how's your family doing? When you go that way, like, man, it opens up Pandora's box of where the conversation could go. Do these conversations take longer? Yeah, absolutely. But are they more fruitful in the long run than your typical, hey, I'm just calling around to see if you need anything real estate related? Like your odds of having a successful conversation increase if you go this way. O, so F stands for family, O stands for occupation. Talk about their job. Hey, how's work going? Have you been impacted by the COVID stuff? And what if you guys approach things differently? Hey, it's been 6-7 months since COVID hit. I'm doing care calls just to follow up with folks and see how are things going with you. Are you back to work yet? I just really wanted to check in and make sure that you're doing okay and see if there's anything I can do for you. I feel like Casey, when COVID first hit, this was one of those things that you were doing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe you were offering to bring people stuff. I forget, but it seemed to be a conversation we were having.
Yeah, and we do. It was just if they needed groceries or something picked up for them. We had a few of our neighbors, and it got the conversation even in our Facebook group in our Lakes of Powell. Other neighbors, oh hey, I could do this, I could do that. So it was good conversation, and it was things that I could do direct messages and follow up with these people too. So it was a better relationship with the people in my neighborhood.
Awesome. So Ford. Hi, Caitlin. We're having a group coaching session where it's group choice, and one of the things we're talking about is feeling like we're bugging people when we contact them, and maybe how to approach the conversation a little bit differently. And one of the things we're talking about right now is the Ford method of having a conversation. So Ford. F stands for family. So talk about their family. Ask them how that's doing. O stands for occupation. Ask them how their work is going. We just recommended doing care calls to see how things have been in the wake of coronavirus. R stands for recreation. So, hey, what are you doing for fun? What are you doing for fun this weekend? Or, how's the Jimmy's baseball team doing? I saw that they were playing. Think of fun things that you can do for recreation. And then lastly, D is dreaming. So, hey, did you ever go on that killer vacation you talked about last year? Or how close are you to retirement? Like if you're talking to a older person or somebody who think of things that make people wonder and make people happy and excited to talk about things like that. Or how's that cruise? Did you book the cruise yet? What are you doing for the holidays? Big things that just bring joy to folks. Those are 4 easy things that you can bring up. You can do them in sequence, or you can just jump to one thing or the other. But these are going to be fruitful conversations that'll last a lot longer. And throughout the course of the conversation, I'll guarantee real estate will come up, because especially when you talk about occupation, what kind of butthead friend would talk about themselves for 5 minutes and how their job is going terrible or great or whatever. And then they don't say, what about you? How are things going with you? And then that opens up your door, say, oh man, real estate's doing great. Let me tell you about the market right now. And you're providing some value that way as well. But that was taught to us in Bold. I've taken Bold a few times, and it stuck with me, not because I typically follow that pattern, but for somebody who's not comfortable having conversations with people, this is a good way to navigate a conversation. When you do that though, you're not sounding like you're selling anything, right? Like if I'm asking you how your life is, does it sound like I'm selling anything? Not at all. In fact, what you're doing is you're doing the opposite. You're building a relationship, which from the get-go, as a coach, that's the one thing I've told you. This is not a sales industry. This is a relationship industry. And so even if you can have this conversation, this would be a great conversation to have with somebody that you just recently met, to establish like some rapport and to say, hey, like, I didn't ask you the other day when we met, like, what do you do for a living? Boom, you just hit occupation. They get to talk about themselves. Everyone loves to talk about themselves. It's just our human nature. When you allow that space, you're going to build relationship. So don't think that every conversation that we have, Chelsea or anybody out there, needs to all be 100% real estate related. It'll get there, promise. So good call outs though, because I think you're pinpointing some of the challenges we face, like mental hurdles that we face. So Casey, I know that you had brought up the idea to talk today about Facebook lead follow-up and smart plans. Several of our previous trainings have been, I know we had a training on the actual smart plan to put folks on. I know Christina had kind of led something and then we talked about it a little bit. And I shared that with the group. I just need to find that recording and I'll reshare that with y'all. But I don't want to rehash old stuff there. What I do want to say though is this goes right back to that lead generation stuff and am I bothering people? When in doubt, just go for it. Call them, text them, email them. When in doubt, just do it. I promise you, it's better to act than to not act. We wait for the perfect smart plan or the perfect technology, the perfect emailing system, when in fact, all we really need to do is go old school. Just call them, just text them, just email them, just do something. You will be rewarded. As far as the smart plans go, Casey, your name's up here as Kenneth, and I'm like, I've never once called you Kenneth, but the thing on smart plans, I know that on the Tuesday tech calls, they've been talking a lot about those, and so I'll probably try and dig some of those up as well, because I must say, Katie is my admin, and she handles most of our smart plan setups. And I do know, I'll share my screen with y'all. I do know that they've updated the library on smart plans. And they talked about that, I want to say last Tuesday, maybe. Let me share my screen here. And we can just jump in together and take a look.
Josh, the other question I had is now let's say you do a campaign on Facebook, is how do you get those leads and how do you, like, obviously they're coming back to you through Facebook, but I haven't done one yet. So that's really what I was looking at also too, is the information you're getting from Facebook. Cause I know if they're registered, they'd usually have their phone number, their name, their email address.
Yeah. So, okay.
So that's what I was more looking at.
Let's just quickly revisit that. So let's say I wanted to design something. So I'm going to design, this just is an example from yesterday, coming soon. You guys know the rules with coming soon. Hopefully, if not, coming soon, you're only allowed to do for 24 hours now. It used to be an undetermined amount of time. And now our board has restricted that to 24 hours. Golly, my Safari does not like command.
When you say 24 hours, do you mean you can only post it 24 hours before it hits the market, or it can only be posted for 24 hours?
So let's say I've got a listing coming up today. Yesterday, this is a true situation. Yesterday, I put a yard sign in the front yard, and it said coming soon. That coming soon sign can only physically be there for 24 hours. So if I posted that at 3 o'clock yesterday, 3 p.m., then by today at 3 p.m., I have to have that listing active for everyone to see. It's basically fair game that way, and we're not being super exclusive. We're not trying to hide anything or hold anything off the market. Well, I'm wondering if I can still get, so I go here and let's say this is a design that I just built, okay? Well, then I can go to campaigns, go to paid ads, You can see I'm getting pretty good at, not to pat myself on the back, and some of these leads do suck, so I'm sorry for that. But over the last 30 days, I've ran 8 campaigns. 15,000 eyeballs have seen it. 161 leads captured at a total spend of $248. That's less than $2, or just a little over $2 a lead, right? No, that's less than $2 a lead. My math is solid. So this is what it looks like. So I just ran one. Yeah, I just started one late last night, early this morning for this new listing I've got in Hilliard. It's active. What's that? $1.54. That's great. I'm running this for 3 days. This is your snapshot, Casey, of everything you need. The real good information is cost per click, cost per lead. So as of right now, I'm at $3 essentially for a lead. If you were to click on this, my dashboard is a little different since I have a team. So it's a little more complicated to get to the lead. But for you, you would just click on this and it would take you right to your contacts for Joe Smith, phone number 1234, yada, yada, and email joesmith@yahoo.com. So you click on this button, right, this little one, and it'll take you right to it in your contacts.
Thank you. That's exactly what I needed.
Perfect. And when you get that contact, it's just, I'm going to assume it's just like what you see when I send you a referral. It's just the name, the phone number, and the email address. The real work then begins because you want to, immediately call them. And if you guys aren't doing this already, fix that. As soon as I send something, call. The people who are having the most success with Facebook command ads are finding that if you call within the first 3 to 5 minutes, the odds of you touching them appropriately, well, that didn't sound good, touching them, whatever, positively impacts your chance to do business with them. As soon as you call, okay, so let's say it's let's just use some scenarios out here. Let's say it's a bad number. It goes bong, bong, bong. This number has been disconnected. Well, do you still have an email address? Absolutely. So boom, the next step, email right away. If you can, I encourage you to email a video. You can email a video from your phone without having any additional like apps or anything. You just take a video and then boom, you email it to them. Just say, hey, this is Chelsea with Keller Williams. I noticed that you just clicked on my ad and I wanted to see if I could help you maybe get inside that home this weekend. And then you don't stop. You put them on a smart plan. The smart plans, let's go check them out. Here's the dashboard for smart plans. If you go to library, there are lots and lots of these in here now. Top rated, this is cool. So there's the ones that the most people are using currently. So gee whiz, almost 1,000 people are using this 66-day challenge. I encourage you to play. Guys, I learned almost all of Command through just playing with it. And now I'm to the point now where I'm pretty fortunate. I don't have time to necessarily play with it because I'm busy with other stuff. But I do know the things that I like to use and I use those things and I'm decently proficient at it, and it only takes a few minutes to do them. The smart plan, as we had it initially, Casey, the one that we rolled out a month ago or whatever, that was something we all had to build manually. Now, you're not gonna have to build that. If you just go and search for like, I don't know, what'd you call it, like
Yeah, I found actually like 3 of them that I've already done that I'm ready to do. I just didn't know how to get once the information came in.
Okay.
Put it in.
Cool.
So that was really the thing. But yeah, after Mega, they were saying how they updated them. I looked there and there's like you can't swing a cat and not hit one that works for you.
Cool. You ever swung a cat?
Yes, multiple times.
Yeah.
All right. So smart plans, just encouraging you to play. Like yesterday, I want to take you through a situation. So I think this is good learning for you guys because you are going to encounter this at some point in your near future as being a realtor. I got a lead about a month and a half ago from a painter friend of mine. So I had helped him sell his house in Hilliard and buy a house in Hilliard. And he's a painter. He was painting a house in Hilliard. I have referred him a lot of business, probably 6 or 7 clients of mine. I've referred him and they've used him to paint. So as retribution in return, he gave me a phone call and said, "Hey, I got a guy who's thinking of selling really quick. Um, Here's his name and number." And so it's worked out okay thus far. So I immediately called the guy and set up an appointment. He hadn't been talking to any other realtors, which is nice. I get in front of him, and typically what I found, and I think what you're all going to find, is that this stat holds true. I've heard the stat is something like 80% of people use the first realtor they meet with. It just makes sense. This day and age, 2020, like, A, you've probably already had a chance to like filter through and say, yeah, I could foresee myself doing business with this person. But also in 2020, are we not all lazy? It feels like we're all lazy and we don't want to do the due diligence. So we're like, oh, you're a realtor? Yeah, sure, I'll use you. So our goal is just to be the first person there. So I called and immediately tried to set an interview or an appointment. And then I went on the appointment. We hit it off. I just asked him a bunch of questions about himself. I told him nothing about me until he asked, until the door opened up for me to have conversations about me and what I've done and where I've, how I have a close affinity for Hilliard because I grew up there and I have recently sold, 5 or 6 houses in the area. Like that information really sealed the deal. So, okay, cool. He decides to work with me. But a week ago, I've nurtured him. I had nurtured him for the last 3 or 4 weeks, just following up once a week. Was I concerned, Chelsea, that I was bothering him? A little bit, but once a week for somebody who's already basically said, yeah, let's do work together, I think that's perfectly fine. If it were more than that, then I might verge on being bothersome. So just, take a common sense approach to that. So I nurtured him once a week until we got to last week. And I said, hey man, it sounds like everything's done. Like, we ready to list this thing? Not like I wanted to be pushy, but I did want to say, hey, the sooner we get this on the market, the sooner we get this sold. So he says, yes, we're ready. And then he emails me. So I sent him a net to seller sheet. Have we covered net to seller before? A net to seller sheet is what the seller can expect to make after all the commissions, taxes, and fees are taken off the bottom line when they sell a home. I sent him one of these, and so he sees the commission line clearly, and he's like, hey, is there any chance that you can do this for 5% as opposed to 6%, which is the typical, remember, we don't set rates here in Ohio. That's illegal. But typically we do charge 3% for the sell side, 3% for the buy side. Because I have no affinity for this guy, like I don't know him really that well. He's not friends or family. So why should I give him a discount? I initially I'm just going to take you through my roller coaster here. Whenever somebody asks that, number one, I get pissed. That's my first emotion. Number two, I try to understand. So my initial response was, what the hell is he thinking? Like, doesn't he know I got to feed my family? When I start to think back, like, okay, well, let's try and understand his side. Most people have no idea what we do, right? They think that you put a yard in the sign or a sign in the yard and then you show up at closing and you collect a massive check for that. Sure, those two things are true. We do collect a massive, what I feel is a great payday for doing not a ton of crazy rigorous work, but there's so much that comes in between and even before that a good realtor will do. And so I had to defend that. So my first feeling was, okay, I'm pissed. Why is he asking me to reduce my commission? Number two, okay, I can understand where he's coming from. So then number three is I got to educate him. So I put together an email outlining exactly what I do and where the cost comes in. So on this listing, I want to share a big vision with you guys. I hope this helps you because I find it really helpful when I'm in coaching and people use their real life situations with me, because then I understand a little bit better. So my goal for this coming year is to focus on achieving more luxury listings. I attended one of the breakouts at Mega Camp on the digital Mega Camp thing last week, and I was kind of turned on to the luxury real estate thing. Not that I want to do a ton of business or make that my only business. By no means is that going to be my only line of business. But what I realized is I have no reason to go after that business because I have no portfolio to show anybody. I'm literally a rookie again in terms of that line of real estate. So if I want to break into luxury, I've got to start putting together a portfolio of what I can offer somebody that has $1 million listing. So my thought was, okay, this listing is about $460,000. I'm going to treat it though like it's $1 million listing. And I told this guy that. I said, so when I do $1 million listing, I'm going to stage it because staging makes a huge difference. And staging costs a damn arm and a leg. I'm also going to do a 3D tour. So the Matterport thing, let me show you this. Have you guys seen Matterport before? This is Matterport. Can you see my screen still? This is like literally walking. How do I do this? This is the first, this is the first time I've tried to navigate this. So pardon me. So you can like literally walk through the house and it's almost like literally a 3D walking through it. So this is great in the Corona times because we're not going to waste time getting out of the house for the seller if people can already do all this stuff. Pretty slick, right? If I was $1 million listing, I'd be like, oh, that's pretty sweet. Okay, I can see, I see what you're doing here. In addition to that, though, I'm doing a aerial photography, which costs additional money. And I'm also doing a video where I actually like tour people through it. I'll be posting all this stuff on social media as I get after this class here today. But all that stuff costs a lot of money. So I told that to the guy and I said, listen, if we want to list this and have all this cool technology, I've got to offset that with my commission. So that's why I don't typically charge less than 6%. And after that, he was totally cool with it. He didn't ask any more questions. He signed my exclusive right to sell at 6%. And now we've got the sign in the yard and we're starting to get showing requests. So let's see, where was I going with that? So people are going to ask you to reduce your commission. It's important that number one, you don't let them see you get pissed, especially if they do it in person. Number two is understand the why, because they don't understand why we make where we make our money. And number three, just explain the why. If you can explain the why, then odds are no one's gonna ask any questions. Additionally, I've talked this year about charging 7% commission. There are agents out there who charge 8% commission. What does that mean for you? So typical commission, if I was to pay the buying agent 3%, that would mean I'm making 4 or even 5% commission. If I can show the value, why not? No one's saying you have to do 3%. No one's saying you can't charge less either. I will say for family, I do give a discount, or when somebody's buying and selling, I try not to. But if they ask the question, there are times where I'll say, you know what, I'll give you 0.25% back. That's cool because you're giving me 2 pieces of business. So people will ask. What other things are we running into? Michael, what are you running into, man? What's been some questions, things that have popped up in your world right now?
Just kind of random technical things. Like I'm gonna show a for sale by owner, and I was wondering like what is that different or anything. I contacted the owner to the
Boy,
agent office.
that's a wonderful point to raise. Was anybody on the monthly business monthly meeting call yesterday? They actually covered that. They covered this where an agent, I don't know if it was in this office or not, an agent ended up going into contract with a for sale by owner. They ended up closing thinking that they were getting 3%, when in fact, the for sale by owner, in the documents, they wrote $3, not 3%. And it was shady as heck. Now that we know this, Mr. Michael, if your client loves this for sale by owner house and wants to write an offer on it, we're going to make darn sure that for sale by owner is going to be paying up and not just paying pennies. They're going to pay your 3%. So if they love it, then give me a ring and we'll work on the wording in the contract to make sure that you're getting paid. But yeah, with a for sale by owner, really all you can do is call and say, hey, I've got my name's Michael with Keller Williams. I am a realtor. I'm calling on behalf of my client. We're very interested in this house. I just want to know, are we able to see it? And also, are you willing to pay a co-op fee? If they say no, okay, it stings, but at least you know. And you still probably want to show that home, because as a fiduciary for our clients, we understand that it's not always our best interest, it's their best interest. So when they say no, we're still going to find a way to get you paid. And what I mean by that is when we write the contract, if we write a good enough contract and we write seller will pay buying agent commission of whatever. If you say, hey, I would do this for $1,000, we can at least write that in the contract and let them counter offer if they need to. But for sale by owners, they're tricky. They're a little trickier. It's funny because they should be less work because you're not dealing with another agent, and yet they're typically more work because you're going to have to be the one administering both sides of the deal. Essentially, it's a real nuisance, and that's why, you know, when we can provide ample value to for sale by owners. When you go in there, Michael, I would encourage you when the tour is done, just say, hey, have you considered using an agent yet? And just, you know, hear them out. They're likely to say, no, I know how to do this. I'm going to sell this house. And you can bring up the point, well, what are your safety precautions? It's 2020 and there's some crazy people out there. Are you just letting anybody in? You know, just come from providing value, or also say this, like, hey, I'm wondering how did you price this home? Because I'd love to show you what I think you could probably get out of this home if you used a realtor, and how it might offset what you're thinking your commissions could be. Unfortunately, guys, I'm not going to lie. Like for sale by owners these days, right now, with the low inventory, they can probably sell their own house. But are they getting top dollar? Probably not. And are they encountering lots of stress along the way? Yeah, because they don't know what they're doing. That's where we come in. That's where we earn our paycheck. We get to deal with the stress instead. Right, Dana?
Yes. And
I'll tell you what, Dana, you earned your paycheck, right? I mean,
I did.
It's one of those things where I will say this, the first few paychecks, and honestly the first year, and even still, when I see that commission check roll in, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe I get paid this much to do this stuff. But when you really take into consideration the amount of the work after hours, like trying to get this last document signed, following up on the lender, especially these days where the lenders are typically not giving closing disclosures out until the 11th hour before you're supposed to close, there's a lot of follow-up involved. There's a lot of hand-holding involved, especially when you're dealing with a crappy agent on the other end. There's just so many different variables that we do earn our paycheck. And I hope we all realize that.
Hey, I have a quick question. So I got an email, speaking of working with interesting agents, I got an email that asked me to rate the agent that I just got done working with. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, it's like peer review, peer reputation.
Yes, that's what it was.
I'll tell you what, I get those and I do fill those out a lot of times, but only typically if I'm giving a good review. And the reason that I do that is I really feel that it builds goodwill because you're going to run into these people again. I just did a deal with Misty Lynn with her team. It wasn't Misty Lynn herself, but I did have correspondence with her. I don't know if you guys know Misty Lynn. If you go drive down by Children's Hospital, you're going to see Misty Lynn signs all over the damn place. She like owns that area. She owns investors, and she does a ton of business. So I know that if I give her a good review, odds are that's going to come back in the future and it's going to pay me dividends. So if it was a crappy experience, I don't know that I would give a review. I just would delete it. And you would hope that people give you good reviews as well.
Right.
So I think it's a goodwill thing. And it's one of those things like, it's your peer if you think about it. Yes. Do we have 8,000 peers across the city? And do some of them really suck? Absolutely. Just let them keep sucking and highlight the people that are successful because it'll pay dividends in the future. Good question. Yeah, so what she's referencing is anytime you close, I don't even know how this happens, but somebody, peer reputation, people must have links to the MLS information. You'll automatically get an email asking you to review your previous experience.
Well, with listings, I've gotten like 13 emails of people how they're going to advertise my listing for me if I just sign up for whatever their product is.
So let's talk about that really quick, Casey. How are you advertising the listing? I saw you did a social media post. That was nice.
Through all my groups, I've done posts through realtors, the Realtor Association. I did through the Lakes of Powell. I did through the Powell Bubble. And I actually am looking at a campaign right now that I'm about to launch to discuss the open house tomorrow. So that will go live this afternoon at probably 5 o'clock. So, and then it just reach outs to all my contacts.
Can I share some additional thoughts maybe? I just printed off, I had my title rep do this. So they printed me off 50 to 75 flyers. And I literally went, not door to door, I went mailbox to mailbox and slid them in the, like the crack of the mailbox. I didn't open the mailbox because that's illegal.
Yeah.
But I did that just to put some brand awareness out there because I want to grow my brand in this community. And also I want to reach anybody who maybe thought about listing, to show them, oh man, this guy, he's serious. He's actually out here walking the neighborhood. He's actually talking to the neighbors, and he's actually put a little skin in the game. Additionally, don't be afraid to try to call the neighborhood. If you need phone numbers, I'm sure you can work with a title company to get phone numbers. I did have Mojo, but I decided I was going to save $140 a month, so I got rid of that. Chelsea's asking, how did Casey get his listing?
So this is a development that is at the end of my street. It's a new build, and I got the information on who the developer was. And he's a realtor too. He had 3 of the 4 units put on MLS. And I just said to him, I said, you know what, you don't have the last one on there. Why not? He said, well, it's just like the other one at the end. And I don't want to, it's not done yet. And I said, well, how about you allow me to have an exclusive just on that? I said, then you have another set of eyes that are there. And then, and he agreed. And it was just a matter of kept calling him back when I found him a landscaper to help him get his project done. I helped him find somebody, if there was a construction guy he was looking for. So I was just there to help him out. And then I guess from all the work that I'd done for him, he had felt that I had earned the listing. So, which is great. But then I also have the access to be able to sell the other 3 listings too, which is awesome. So
Sweet. Now we just need to get this one sold. So I'm interested to hear, Casey, how this Friday evening open house goes. Would you mind sharing a text with us when it's done? Just give us a head count of how many
Sure.
people rolled through.
Yep.
I've never done a Friday. You know what? I have done one. It was on a listing that had a pizza oven in the backyard. And I wanted to highlight that for all the neighbors. So I invited all the neighbors to a neighbors only open house. It was like a preview. There are people who do open houses really well. And this was one of the steps that I was encouraged to do. So I literally made wood-fired pizzas and had them out there for the neighbors and created some goodwill. I didn't find a buyer, but I had like, I don't know, 15 people come through and some great conversations. So that might be another thing, Casey, you think about if this lasts in the next week, you know, maybe do something for the people in the area.
And that's why I
highly
invited
encourage you to create a Facebook ad for this though. It's easy. Even if you don't do a paid ad, like every day, make it look like you're out there busting your hump. Like, hey, just wanted to let everyone know the open house is tomorrow. And then you do another one tomorrow from the open house. You do a Facebook Live. Hey guys, this is Casey. I'm here at what you're doing is you're not only selling that home, but you're selling yourself to the eyes of all 500 Facebook followers that you have. And you're likely not going to see 500 likes. You're not going to see 500 comments. I will guarantee you, because it's firsthand knowledge. There are people that I thought have never looked at my Facebook page that have come up to me in the last week that says, oh my God, you're killing it because I see all these posts that you're making. Number one, I can't believe they saw it because I've never seen them like it, never seen them comment on it. And number two, I'm not actually killing it. I'm just making the perception out there that I'm killing it, right? The perception is what all people care about. They don't care what actually is happening. They don't know that you've been at the same house every single time you're posting. Or that you're showing houses to your husband, Chelsea says. Like, it doesn't matter. The perception is all that matters. And that's why social media is so important. And that's one of the things I wanted to bring up. And I'm glad we got to this point. Dana, can you share, I'm not going to pick on you, but I'm wondering, I haven't followed up. I haven't been in the social media, like reviewing other people's posts and stuff here lately. What did your posts look like after you closed on the homes that you sold last week?
Okay. I don't think that I did enough due diligence on my social media after I closed because I was busy moving and getting kids transferred to the correct online schooling and stuff like that. But what I would have done differently is I would have posted a picture from my title agency office. And as a matter of fact, I'm probably going to go back to our title agency and get a post-closing photo just a little photo op. And I still haven't taken a photo of the house we bought and posted that. Like, I haven't done any of that stuff yet. I'm just.
And I know I'll give you credit for being super busy because it's your own stuff that you bought and sold.
Right.
And I just want to make sure that we squeeze this turnip for all that it's worth. Like, you can make it look like you bought and sold 6 houses if we do it right. And it's all perception. Nobody needs to know that, like, hey, I'm just so excited. I finally closed on the house of our dreams. And then you maybe do a tour through it and say, hey, here's some projects that we've got coming up. And what you're doing is planting the seed for upcoming social media posts. We could go so big with social media. I think what we are fearful of, and this goes back to saying no for people, we're scared of what other people are going to perceive. with us. You guys heard of Gary Vaynerchuk? I think his name is Gary V. He goes by Gary V on Instagram. If you are not following Gary V, just look up Gary V on Instagram, follow him. He's on 24/7. He's what's called an influencer. But he's brilliant, and you may pass by 30 things that he posts, but he's always posting videos. If you just listen to one or two, it's always like inspirational type stuff. It's always how to grow your business. And one of the things somebody asked him was, what if I'm posting too much? He said, there's no such thing, because the algorithms won't let you, like the algorithms that work with Instagram and stuff won't let you show up too much in somebody's feed, I don't think. But also, don't say no for somebody. Who's to determine if you're showing them too much or showing too much? Like, we just get in our own minds because we're like, we just don't want to be a pest. You're not being a pest. I run into the same thing too. I took a couple really good photos today that I'm kind of excited about, like posting. But I just posted the closing from this morning. Well, I don't want to shift gears too soon and post something else that goes 90 degrees this way. And I've got to get out of my own head and just post the damn thing. Who cares if I get more likes, right? Like, that's a great problem to have. It's also going to make it look like I'm busier than I am. My work this morning has taken me about 3 hours, but it's going to look like it took me all day to do all these things, because that's the perception. People are just, I'm telling you, I think social media is something that if you're not going after it, you're leaving free skin in the game. We don't want to do that. We want to leave it all out there. So Dana, I would encourage you. I think that's a great idea to go back to the title company and take a photo. Nobody even knows that you closed last week. You got the cookies. Yeah. That's the thing that I've seen. And I might encourage you to, I don't know if you need to like clean the lens on your phone, but sometimes when you take pictures, they're like little hazy. Chelsea's asking, do you have a case on your phone, Dana?
I do. I should probably take it off.
Well, she was wondering if there's like a screen over it, because if you just take it off, I bet it'd be clear as day. And we could see your beautiful beeswax. Yeah, it looks very nice. Okay, guys, so we have 7 minutes left. Real quick, are there any other questions that y'all have? Because I do have one last thing that I want to cover with y'all.
Josh, one thing, during the week, I was going to do it today, but it's my wife's birthday, so we're celebrating that. So is Thursday a better day to do the open house if you're doing it during the week?
Who's to say what's the right answer unless you try it? I'll try anything once. I think Friday's a good idea. Try it. If it doesn't work, do it Sunday. I am going to be holding an open house on Sunday, most likely this house. I'll be surprised if it's in contract. It's a higher price point. So I'm planning on doing an open house on Saturday. Sorry, gee whiz. Sunday, open house, 1 to 3, Hilliard, Ohio. If anyone's interested in joining me, I was talking to Chelsea earlier. She's interested in attending. One of the things that some of us have talked about is, how do we get contacts for the week? There is no quicker way to get contacts than to attend an open house. Dana, you did an open house, didn't you?
I did.
And I don't remember. How many people did you say you had run through it?
I'll bet you we had 26 people come through.
Boom, 26 contacts. Now, kids don't typically count, but if you get a husband and wife, absolutely. Or if you get a kid that's 18 or up that could potentially afford a house in the future, it counts. That's a lot of conversations in a 2-hour window, and boom, you're a quarter of the way to your goal. And These are people, I would say that probably half of the people that come through open houses are looky-loos, meaning they don't necessarily intend to buy. They're just interested in what the neighbor's got to offer. But the other half is either A, interested in buying and would use you because they're clearly unrepresented, or B, maybe they're neighbors that are thinking about selling their home and they're essentially interviewing you. It's low-hanging fruit. So if anyone's interested, holler at me by Saturday so I can make plans. Cool. All right, last thing that I want to plant the seed on. I am doing business planning for my business for 2021. Have you guys started thinking about your business plans for 2021? That answer might be no. If you haven't started thinking about 2021, next week we're going to talk about it. I want to plant the seed though. The first thing that you guys all should be doing, and I'll try to share this with you guys, is a allocations form. Okay, what this does is this is going to tell you how much money is the bare minimum that you would need to survive. Meaning, how much is my house payment? How much do I spend on food, utilities, et cetera, et cetera? How much is my car payment? Why are these important? Well, because it's going to show you what bottom line you need to survive each month. When you know that, you can work backwards, right? So if I know I need $1,000 a month, well, that probably means I need to have a closing a month. So that would mean if I'm working completely backwards, I want to close 12 units for the year. If we, though, would like to take a vacation or do a kitchen remodel or KC, pay for my kids' college, those things all get in here as well. And then we start to realize, oh, I'm going to need to sell 2 houses a month. This is important, guys. You can't know a good goal without knowing what you desperately need to survive. Because if I was just to say 12, but I hadn't anticipated like doing anything fun with my life, is my next year going to suck because I don't have anything fun to look forward to? Yeah, it's going to suck pretty bad. We want to build your lives to be bigger than you ever thought they could be. So I want you to kind of dream big on this. When I send this to you guys, I want you to fill it out. And I want you to come kind of ready to speak next week to just a quick snapshot. I don't want, 10 minutes per person. I'm talking like maybe 1 minute per person. Where we just say, hey, it looks like I'm going to need this amount to live next year. And I just want to, my goal would be then to sell X number of houses. And here's a couple of things that I intend to do differently next year to achieve that. Michael, I mean, you're so brand new at this that you might say, well, this upcoming year, I'm not going to change anything, but I'm going to go harder after this, and this. What I typically try to do each year is pick like 2 or 3 things. I don't try to reinvent the wheel. If I've got something that's working for me, I'm going to keep doing it. This past year, my 2 or 3 things were to have some events, because events are easy invite opportunities and easy conversation opportunities, and they typically are fun, and I enjoy doing it. And the other thing that I was going to do this year is social media every single day. And thus far, I'm, 3/4 of the year through and doing pretty decent at that. So I've hit my goal. And I really do feel that it is leading me to more contacts and more business. So those are 2 things that I think are fun, and you can have fun with this too. Like if you love playing, like that example we shared a month ago or so, if you love playing tennis, you're going to form a tennis league and you're just going to play with a different person each week, something like that. Don't be afraid to dream big and have some fun with this. But next week, plan to come ready to speak to your business. You are a business owner. This can be exciting. It can also be a little nerve-wracking. I will say last year when I established that I was going to do 40 transactions and make $10 million in volume, I don't know that I actually believed that I could do it. And right now I will be at 37 units and 9.7 million. And so what I'll say, that's not to brag. Please don't take it that way. It's to say that when you write a goal down and you start to do the activities that you set out to do in the first place, God will provide infinitely more than we can ask or expect. So dream big, big, big. If your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. With that, I will leave y'all. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Casey, interested to hear how your open house goes tomorrow. Good luck.
Thanks, sir.
Talk
Thanks,
to y'all
Josh.
later. Thanks, guys.